Hey yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast, where we go through all the classic hip hop albums of all time and see like what we think about them, because we've never really done that.
Yep.
It's your boy HSR tonight,
Yo, it's your boy Chris Chrome.
And it's your lady friend Bonnie.
and tonight
Really big hair today.
tonight it is episode fucking 22. And Chris, why don't you tell us what album we are reviewing tonight?
Well, for this week's album, we decided to go with Mobb Deep's The Infamous.
Yes.
And most of the reason we chose to do this is because
We had another one in mind, which we'll probably do next week.
But the passing of Prodigy of Mobb Deep kind of made us prioritize this, because we got curious. Let's check this guy out.
Yeah.
Pay our respect with a podcast in his music.
In
and
Prodigy's honor.
And so, yeah, we got really curious and wanted to learn more. And alas, here we are. So when did y'all first hear about Mobb Deep?
Yeah, I want to say last week, like when we decided, or like, when we decided that we were going to do it. But like, as I was listening to it, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've like heard a couple of these songs before, but I could never like identify like who they were or like where I had even heard them. So I don't think they were even playing on the radio. So I don't even know, like maybe like just on some playlist somewhere.
There's got to be a lot of these that I've seen in movies. Like I know Shook One's Part 2. It's like that beat is just played all sorts of places. No, I heard about them from like, again, a lot of like I've heard their name a lot. I've seen them do interviews a lot. I know a lot about their story, where they come from and such, because of like read about them, but I never really got into their music. I know this isn't the first time I've tried to listen to the Infamous, but it's, I guess, as we've reviewed a lot of these albums, I understand what they're trying to do a lot more now than, say, even 6 months ago. So I was never really even prepared for the greatness that this album had to come into it. So this we could say is my first real exposure outside of that one track, Shook One's Part 2.
Fair enough. Same thing for me, actually. I've heard Mobb Deep's name as I was growing up. People told me I should listen to them. I never really did. But this is the first time I really dived in on an actual album from them.
Yeah, so, the cover is just fucking grimy, right? You got the two of them. You have Havoc up in the front and Prodigy in the back.
And, like, he's a little bit fuzzy in the back. Like, he's not, like, in, like, the main focus. And there's, like, the sign that says, like, it kind of looks like a street or, like, a, like, welcome to, like, our town kind of sign. But it has, like, the album, like, name and cover.
The Infamous.
Yeah, the Infamous on it. And, like, at the bottom corner is, like, the crew. So it was kind of interesting, like, the way that they had the album, like, cover.
I felt it was so grimy. Like, what you were about to listen to is some raw shit. Like, they did not care about fluffing this up in the least. They wanted it to look real.
It was
what's
really
going on.
Their point across and expressing how they felt with what was going on.
And with the title, The Infamous, it really fits, right? Because infamous is like being famous for the wrong reasons, right? So, like, criminals would be infamous rather than famous. And in light of where they come from, it's interesting that they would aspire to be infamous, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the opposite of what you would think one would go for. But then you get into the album where we learn about their surroundings and such, and it's crazy. I think this is a true gem. Honestly, do you guys have more to comment on this?
Not really.
No.
All right, let's get into this shit. Let's start talking about it. So,
the start of your ending.
41st side.
I'm wrong with 2 max and plus my pullbacks. My every move I choose, give a boost.
Chris, how did you feel about this song?
I liked it. I liked the laid back, mellow vibe to it. I felt they are very raw, very intense in projecting the message they want to go with. But I felt a little detached from it. I felt it was just a little long as an intro, and
it wasn't really an intro. It was just the song.
Right.
It was the first song.
Right.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I don't know. I guess I pre-hyped it up myself. I was expecting something that was more like bangerish or something like that, not so laid back. But other than that, it's actually really cool to see how these guys actually present their stories and formulate their sentences. I was really, really interested in this.
Okay.
All right. Like this song, like at the very beginning, like Havoc is saying that it's dedicated to his friend Louis Screwball Chandler. And then so like he kind of talks a lot about death and like the Grim Reaper, and that, you know, he says that, you know, you shouldn't pretend to live like a gangster life and then have this like hard life if you're not, because it kind of sucks. Because like I think he's kind of trying to say, like, you know, like death is imminent, you know, people around him are dying, people he, you know, he's good friends with are dying, you know, and then he has to be scared for his life, and then this is his life now that he has to, you know, he's committing all these crimes. And then we talk, like in the second verse, we've got Prodigy. This is where, like, you know, we were first introduced to, you know, Mr. Prodigy. You know, and he's talking about drinking and doing drugs, and, you know, and then he like sobers up in jail. So like, you know, obviously, you know that he's going to jail, and you know, and then he's ready to like kill people, and, you know, like he's not scared to do it, and he'll kill anyone. Like he doesn't even care. Like he even says like even the hoes. So he's even, you know, which is, you know, I guess kind of like a big statement to say that you're just gonna kill women. And so he doesn't even really get that it's not even like a nice thing to do. This is just like his life, and then this is what he has to do.
I would say that I think he understands it's not a nice thing to do. He just doesn't care because
But he's so like, he's just been brought up to like be so cold, kind of.
That's it. That was one of my first thoughts. Is, for one thing, the guys are like 19 and shit, and
they're really young,
and their voices almost have this dead inside of them feeling, right? Like you can tell that these guys have actually seen some
like,
shit.
You feel the pain in like their voices.
I feel like you were brought right there with them. Like, I guess by now I've seen pictures of this projects area a couple of times, and I can just like picture just standing there with these grim looking buildings around as the various things are happening around them. But then I was just, their voices are just so, like, there's almost like so much emotion packed into how little emotion is really displayed here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're really street soldier types. And when you really, like, go through their flows, that it just struck me, because it's very comparable to Nas, right?
It's very comparable to Nas.
And it's this, but it's like, whereas I feel like Nas was a little more of a poet and a philosopher, these guys were more documenting their expression. Like, they didn't know how to cope with their realities, so they put it down on a pen and a paper to try to express the various things they were experiencing. And just that terror, like, it's not often you feel like these people are aware of their mortality in these rhymes. It's almost like to live lavishly and to die means nothing. And then you have these guys being like, I know exactly what it means to die, and I'm just trying to do stuff. And, like, as you were saying, like, the idea of people copying this image, whereas they're the real fucking deal in a way that others can't understand. And it's like, I guess, the difference between glorification and expressing. And I was perplexed, man. I felt like they break the rules of rapping. I feel like their flow is done in such a way where you're expecting things to rhyme, and then they don't, just to set up for another rhyme scheme. Like, just make a full aspect. But it's also like this full pivot of rhyme scheme here out of nowhere, whether it's on time with the beat or just off time. But they do it also eloquently. Yeah. And just the expressiveness, the way they can manipulate their accents to make things rhyme. I mean, we're on the first track, and I'm like,
right away you know where you are. Like, right away, you're like, shoop, like, you're like plopped right in the middle of Queensbridge, because you know exactly where you are, you know what's going on, and then you can kind of already, like, just from, like, the song and, like, the feeling that they're, like, portraying. And, like, if you listen to Nas, you know, like, you instantly kind of get that same sort of feeling. It's that same,
just with, you know, like, grimierness. I feel like
but, like, you right away, I don't know, it's incredible the way that they can just, you know, put you in that moment and, like, make you feel what's going on around them.
But I felt like also, like, the beat really enhances the mood in this, like, scary kind of sense, where,
it's
like,
so smooth and yet, like, ominous.
They're creating this tension, but it's not like a lot of the shittier beats of this era, where by, like, the 3-minute mark you're like, fuck off, change. It sucks you in. I give this a 5. I don't even, I feel like I haven't scratched the surface of this album, let alone this track, but I'm already blown away. I mean, I was trying to review the tracks, and I just kept having to restart this because it was so good. And I'm like, I'm rarely impressed like this, but this was cool.
Yeah. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was a great song. I thought it was honest and raw, and like the beat was awesome. It was perfect. I don't know. I thought it was a really, really, really great song. Yeah.
Cool. I gave it a 4 on 5. Solely because it's not something I would listen to every day. I like what they're saying. I like how they introduce themselves. I like how they write and they form the sentences and the phrases in their verses. But it's just, personally, it's just not something I would honestly just listen to myself, though, like on a daily.
All right. The Infamous Prelude is something we're going to talk about in a minute.
By saying all this shit, what it is that I know how niggas gets down. I used to.
This was so cool. I feel like it's rarer. Like, I wish more rappers would do this a cappella shit these days, and more people would just do it, because
it felt like spoken poetry, you know, like that kind of thing.
I thought this was the interview. This was just him speaking, not really going a cappella. This wasn't a cappella track.
It was a prelude. I mean, it was kind of like an a cappella track-ish. He didn't really rhyme much. I noticed that it wasn't really... It's kind of like he just had something to say.
Right.
He was just talking about how real he is, and talking about, you know, like, he does do drugs, he does drink, you know, and he's not doing it to be cool. It's just, this is just who he is, you know? Like, he's just kind of saying that kind of stuff. I really appreciated
how aware he is of his mortality, whereas he's like, and it kind of like calls out the fake studio rappers. Like, it could almost be like taking like the guys like Dr. Dre, who might be in the studio all the time pretending like they're doing this life that he's rapping about. Now, I'm just kind of quoting what other people say. I don't know enough about Dr. Dre's life and stuff, but from what I can tell, it's not exactly the same thing.
I don't think that he has sold any of his guns.
Right. So, I mean, just, and then it's crazy, right? Because he took shots almost at the weed rappers too, the guys who just get fucking high and write spaced out,
and he's like, how childish
shit.
And like, how high school is that? And like, you know, the fact that he's kind of like referring to high school, it's like you kind of get like, wow, like he really is that young. Like he probably just came out of high
it's
school,
almost like he's like, check it, you're being so juvenile, this is high school shit, why aren't you acting like men? It's more what I took from
like
that
time
kind
to
of
grow
a
up.
thing. Yeah. And like, I would say that there are a lot of perspectives I see that are high school shit. It's something I would use to label as completely juvenile and immature.
Right.
That's true.
I give it a 4. I mean, it's not like a song per se, but I thought it was really fucking interesting, and like, I could listen to this multiple times because the raw power in his voice, the expressiveness, like the dude is a public speaker.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
Prodigy, by the way.
Yes, it was. I feel like pretty similar about that. Like that it was really raw. It was so real. Like you felt like, you know, like his energy, like you felt like what he was trying to get out to you. And it was really cool. It wasn't him like rapping so much, but it was like, you can imagine being at like a little cafe where, you know, someone was doing like spoken poetry like late at night or something like that, and like he just went up there and was spitting that, and like it would just be, I don't know. I thought it was cool. I gave it a 4.5.
Nice. Unfortunately, I gave it a 3. Not that I didn't like it. I thought it was powerful. And it was very well written, well spoken. But I felt it was more like him making a statement, and I also feel like maybe this should have been the first track, as in like bringing in the first song for me, because when I heard this, I felt like it was an extension of the last song.
I felt like it was validating the last song. I felt like they were saying all this, and now he's like coming in, just to let you know, this is like, for those of you who are ignorant, I'm going to put it down in plain fucking English. This is what this album's about.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I think that you can't look at every song one as an intro. If somebody wants it to be called the intro and it's an intro, you'll know. This was not this album. There was no intro here. This was an interlude, or a prelude, as they put it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The infamous prelude.
And, it's explaining, like, the context of this album, I think. Just that they're fucking real and welcome to their reality.
Yeah. And this is who they are. And, like, this is their life.
And, how come they have this need for the...
Well, right. No, I did catch that. Like, I did get it. I got that this is what they're... I don't want to say forced, but like they have to do certain things to survive and certain things to live with the surroundings that they have, and I got that. I just felt that this was more of a statement. When I heard it, I got this feeling that he's like, don't say shit if you're not that.
Right. He's basically calling out all the fake fans.
Right. So I took it more as a statement. I didn't. So for me, it wasn't a song, and there wasn't really much to it.
It's a really well delivered statement. Like,
right. I'm not saying it wasn't well delivered. Just I wouldn't really listen to this either. And it wasn't really a song for me. It was more just a statement, which I appreciated. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
There's no music to it.
Right. I still think that it could be construed as a poem and is totally a powerful piece here. And you should go listen to it again and find that depth in it. Anyway, let's move on to Survival of the Fittest.
Lord, forgive me, the Hennessy got me not knowing how to act. I'm falling and I can't turn back.
So we get more grimy, grim reality stuff.
Yeah.
I think Prodigy starts us off with this one, and I felt like he's really trying to just tackle the realities of death in his life again, right?
And he dedicates this song to Killah B, who is Havoc's older brother, who's in jail.
And just kind of like facing the realities, kind of like how things have changed now that he's gone, and people are acting different and stuff, and you know, I feel like there's a high level of emotions in the words that these guys are using, right?
Well, there is, like, not everybody deals with change the same way, right? And when you speak about change, if somebody that meant something so much to whether it be the hood, the borough, or the area, when they leave, like, that does affect them, you know?
Yeah.
Right, but I think he's more talking about how everyone else is acting different because this powerful G-like figure is no longer there, but it's more just, it's almost like a war is how, I think that's how it starts, like war is happening, and like because these key figures are not there.
And he's gonna kill the enemy and like all this stuff, and
like he's almost like he's been forced to grow into this soldier role because his protection's gone. And he's had to adapt to survive because it's now a survival of the fittest with the hook, and
like they're still like paying their homage and like shouting him out because they know that like once he gets out, that
shit's gonna come back.
Yeah, and so like they want to make sure that they stay buddy.
Well, I mean,
but plus it's Havoc's brother.
Isn't it Prodigy's brother?
It's Havoc's brother.
Okay, yeah. Either way, like, and then the next verse kicks in, and it's more of what's going on in the realities, and the flows are still, they're different though, right? Like, I like the fact that it's not the same flow. I mean, they do it in a very similar style of butchering the words, but they're using different sounds, and they're able to hit the beat in just the right way. And I got really sucked into this. It's like Nas if he actually was out there living a grimier life, right? Like, I feel like they had different realities. It's like a different perspective.
No, I think they had the same reality.
They were friends.
Just Nas took it as more of like a this is what's like he did it more as a journalist, like journalist,
exactly,
right?
Whereas these guys
they're doing it journalistically, but
living it.
But it's like this is more gonzo journalism as opposed to an outside perspective. Like I feel like Nas, it wasn't quite killing people the way they were, as an example.
No, Nas mentioned weapons and like
they're sort of like the Bone Thugs. Of like they're a little more legit.
Wrong, take it with a grain of salt, internet folk. But I'm just saying this is how I felt listening to their album. Like Nas was more about like the philosophy side of it, and this was more about like even if they're from the same place.
You know what?
They both. I mean, they both were criminals.
Right. I also noticed something. I feel like Havoc. I mean, they're both criminals. Whatever, they do their thing, but I feel like Havoc is the more like outburst violent rapper of them both, and Prodigy's more like self-aware of what's happening and more like conscious about it. And I like how they kind of fade together with each other, not fade, but they mash together with each other on how they present their scenarios with not one another, but the surroundings.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
I find that their voices are cool. I like everything about this track too. It's another 5 for me.
Right.
I like the fact that it creates like a new perspective. Like with all the different tensions and crazy shit happening out there in the world today, hearing songs like this makes me realize that the reality I've faced and the reality other people face, like I can remember being 19, it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
And if I consider like what these dudes would be rapping about at 19, and if I were to rap about my life at 19, it's like, it's crazy, right? Just the stark differences of everything. And these guys, they just capture it so well. Like, I don't know. I feel like there was almost fear in this, and just
Well, of
but
course.
like embracing,
you just feel like like
embracing
the pain,
the reality of the situation. Like almost, not so much fear as in they're afraid to do
I
it,
feel like
but
there's...
like that they're aware of what's going on. They've accepted the realities, and they're afraid of the inevitabilities that come out of the consequences of it.
Well, they've accepted the
Yeah.
inevitabilities. They've
You just said
accepted
that.
right?
Right. So
Well, no, I'm not. But like you said, they're afraid of the inevitabilities.
no, I said they've accepted the inevitabilities, and they're afraid of the consequences that come after that happens,
Right.
yeah,
which is different.
which is either like getting killed or going to jail.
And they're not like they're gonna do it. Like they have to do it. Like there's no choice in their mind, because they know that this is what they've been brought up to be. This is the system that they're part of, the game that they have to play.
Yep.
And at the same time, they're gonna represent where they come from. And I don't know. I really enjoyed this. But anyway, so yeah, I gave this a 5. Another 5.
Nice. I give this one a 4.5 on 5. I liked Prodigy's, like, one of his lyrics at the end, in his like the third verse or whatever, where he said, "Open your eyes and get wise." I thought it was like interesting about like, you know, like what's going on in like the world, and like see what's going on in like their world. Like it's sort of like a two-way street, I think.
Right.
I thought it was a really catchy song. I thought it was real. I thought it was raw. I thought it was a lot of kind of what you had said. And I gave it a 4.5.
Nice. I actually gave this song a 5 on 5. It was a really, really great song. It was projected well, presented well, produced well. The beat's amazing. Just like how they sound so, I want to say broken inside, but also sound so raw at the same time, and just trying to get it out there.
All right.
Yeah. Lots of feels.
So let's talk about Eye for an Eye, your beef's minds. Apparently, when Mobb Deep says they're down for the cause and they're gonna have your back, they are mad serious. And across their history in hip hop, anytime one of their own got beefed with, they went at them. Whether it was that like track against the West Coast, New York, or LA, I don't remember which one they did, or whether it was coming at Hova and his crew over with Jay-Z and then Jay-Z Nas beef or whatever. Mobb Deep is serious when they say that they got your back.
For reals.
And this song was pretty solid. And one of the things I really liked, and I think it was Prodigy that said it, was, like, if I let these minor indiscretions go, then I would have real problems with my shit. Like, in order to stay on point, I got to deal with every little thing, because every little thing really is a big thing. And if you don't handle your shit, you know, I just...
And he mentions it, like, a couple of other times. He says, you know, like, even, like, the smallest kind of little thing, like, any sort of little fuck up, and, you know, you could get yourself killed or get yourself caught by the cops or whatever. So, like
I kind of like to have the same mentality of even nowadays. Like, you should always just be on point with what you do.
I agree. When reviewing albums, we should all be on point with what we do. Just saying. But yeah, no, I love the integrity put in, and I love the fact that all 4 of these guys had verses, right? Nas being on this album.
So we got Raekwon, Nas featured, so it's like, you know, they're all homeboys.
And apparently the Wu Squad was down to be part of this, which is uncommon for the era, but because of the efforts to put New York back on the map, and everybody came in and dropped crazy fucking verses. Like, I feel like it was a lot of just why their ethic and their ability to have, like, to hold it down in the right way of doing things allows them to succeed, and that they're not fucking around. Like, again,
well, they all talk about, like, guns, and they all end up, like, kind of talking about death, and, like, it's so sad that you, like, you know, all these young guys are, like, talking about, like, you know, how death is so ominous, and, you know, it's right around the corner,
they
and, like,
have
just the
to stick together.
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
But
I mean, that's probably why they have these groups.
But also,
because
they're dealing with snitches and things like that at the same time. So the difference between, let's say, the Queensbridge Squad is that they actually hold each other down in a real way, whereas other groups are going to actually turn on each other. And, like, they give
warnings, and they tell you, like, listen, like, if you come to, you know, Queensbridge, like, and you expect something that, you know, isn't going to happen to you, think again.
Like,
for, like, whatever reason. Like, you know, like, we're going to just, you know, kick your ass or like steal all your shit or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's
you know.
And as much as I love the raps, though, this beat got on my nerves a little bit, for real. So I give it a 4.5 on 5 because I appreciate the greatness of it, but that beat just was like the thing that made it miss the mark for me.
I liked it. It sounded like a scratchy record, and it sounded really ominous and like creepy sounding. I don't know. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I really liked it.
Nice. I gave it a 4 on 5 for the same reason.
Oh no, wait! I gave it a 5 on 5. My bad.
Jeez, retracting.
My bad.
Not even paying attention.
Oh, and about Raekwon, he writes his will. He mentions writing his will. I'm like, that's so sad. Isn't he like pretty young too?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but given the surroundings and what's going on, I mean,
And the cream,
right? Like,
which I hear that.
Which is, you know, cash
rules everything around me.
Right. But no, I gave the song a 4 on 5 for the same reason though. The beat was a little bit annoying, but other than that, I mean, listen to it again. You could probably just zone out the beat and just listen to their voices and listen to what they have to say. It's fucking amazing.
That doesn't make it a 5. That's why it's not a 5 for me.
I know.
I have to put in that effort.
I know.
Anyway, next up, Just Step Prelude.
Can lead to a motherfucking suicide thing. And plus my probation, a L valid.
Apparently, Big Noyd was exaggerating just a little bit, and he didn't actually have 3 separate cases at once. He had one case, but he was going back to court.
Different places.
So it felt like it. Otherwise, this is fucking great, man. This is, again, back to that, like, a cappella type shit, spitting these things.
I got this, like, feeling of they're all just kind of, like, chilling around in the circle or, like, just chilling on a bench, just kicking with each other, you know?
Got the feeling that these guys have legal problems, and they're just, like, I'm frustrated with my circumstances.
Yeah, but, like, the atmosphere.
Well, Big Noyd says that he feels suicidal. And, like, you know, he just doesn't care. And I'm like, oh,
right.
my God.
But, I mean, explaining to your homie how you feel, you're going to say that, like, yo, homie, man, this shit's making me insane.
It's pretty fucking deep.
I tell my best friend, I would be like, yo, man, I'm actually thinking of being suicidal. Like, I feel suicidal, man.
Chris, you don't come from the hood, bro.
Well, right, but I mean, I can relate if they're talking with their homies and he feels down. He's conversating with the homies, letting them know, like, this is what's going on.
All right.
Maybe, hopefully.
I kind of felt like they were
expressing... If you're in the hood and you're watching this, it's okay to talk about your feelings.
All right. I just took from this that they were just spitting a little bit, and that they have some legal issues, and they were just kind of expressing frustrations, as I was saying.
Right. It was nice.
And I give it a 4 on 5. I thought it was okay.
Yep. Same.
So I was just, like, referring again to, like, what my notes had said. And, like, this is where Prodigy is rapping about his friend Killah. And when he got out of jail, and he hasn't seen him since he was a kid. And then he refers to Prodigy's friend, Killer Black, who went to jail. And then later on, we find out that he stabs himself in the neck 7 times, and that's how he he kills himself. I'm like, that's really awful, and it's really, really sad. Like, if that's what it is that he's actually referring to, because is that really what it happened? Like, I don't know. I'm like, how can you do that to yourself? Ooh. Anyways.
Okay. And what did you give it?
I gave it a 4.5 on 5 because it was so real and it was so raw, and like, it was really sad, like, listening to it. It was like these 2 guys, like, talking about, like, real shit that's going on in their life, and it was, like, so, like, open, you know, like, to talking about these things, and I don't know, I thought it was pretty powerful.
All right, so then this was a prelude, I guess, to Give Up the Goods, Just Step.
I'm getting on with it, and I'ma have it till I'm fucking dead and going with it, cause I'm a what?
So this one's just sort of like a tough gangster life song, and, like, singing about, like, you know, like, how, like, you know, like, the people in his crew, like, they don't play, and, like, I mean, we all kind of know by now that that's pretty true. They're not messing around. They're pretty honest about what they say. They back themselves up. I really like this one.
I like the beat. I think this one was produced by Q-Tip, unless I'm mistaken, and it feels so different than the other ones on the album so far. Mm-hmm. It's kind of got more of that spacey, you get lost in it kind of feel, so these raps over it kind of contrast. So you have this, like, eased out flow, like you just smoked a blunt and you're ready to go, with these harsh rhymes, almost creating maybe some of the reality of what their headspace would be feeling like in these moments. Where like Big Noyd comes in, so we get introduced to him for the first time on this album, and he just like holds his own next to the other
he's
two.
really good.
Right.
Like there was no fucking real difference between them at all. Well, no, there's differences, but like in terms of skill level, I appreciated this one. It was another, like you said, just reality being driven. So far for this whole album, I'm feeling like, man, it's like a movie. And I want to go watch this movie a lot more times.
They describe it so vividly that you can, like, understand and, like, imagine yourself, like, in their shoes and, like, seeing what's going on and, like, feeling what they're feeling. You know, there's a lot of, like, empathy to, like, be had listening to this album. So I think it was really crazy. And, like, Prodigy talks about, like, the love for his crew and, you know, that they'll do anything for each other. And then that he's seeing these kids doing the same kind of stuff that he was doing at their age, you know, like running errands and stuff for like the crack dealers and, you know, like just like things that they shouldn't be doing at that age, but that he's kind of like, well, you know, and he kind of tells them don't do it, but then they're just like, well, this is the life in, you know, Queensbridge, and he's like, yeah, you're right, you know, like he you can't do anything about it, it sucks. And
he did his part by saying don't do it.
Yeah, he doesn't want the kids to be doing what he's doing, but he knows that it's part of the life there.
Which I think is an interesting, because they're so young with such maturity. Like, they've been through it and they know what comes next.
Yeah.
I give this another 5. I thought it was extremely well made. Yeah. Extremely interesting to listen to. I don't have a lot to comment on the actual lyrics. This is like, it was just dense. It was really good. It was like, you just close your eyes like you were saying, and it's like this clusterfuck of stream of consciousness, excellent delivered flows. It's the kind of stuff that doesn't get boring. It's like a Picasso.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 on 5 as well.
No, so did I. It was a really great song. I like how they took the time to really just paint the perfect picture on what they wanted to show. It was really cool.
Anyway, so next up is
the temperature's rising.
Not going crazy from windows. I see lights flashing and maybe somebody's taking.
I feel like this song had like a clearer message than some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's kind of so sweet. It's basically like a song, like a letter, sort of like
isn't it like a phone call?
Yeah, it's like a letter or whatever to Havoc's brother, Killah Black, or Killah B, or sometimes he just goes by Killah.
Cover all bases.
You know, I'm just you know, you're making sure I'm not saying his name wrong. And so it's basically just about like Havoc and Prodigy, like just talking about like how he's, you know, he's like the main suspect for a murder. And then how Havoc feels like really paranoid that like, you know, like there's cops around or there's secret, like they're taking his picture from somewhere and hiding, and like, you know, he's so nervous and, you know, he doesn't know what to do.
Well, it's like the hood's changed now that they're investigating the murder. You can't tell who's a snitch, who's a cop.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, look, the heat's up. I mean, we got your back. We're never going to say nothing. You can trust us.
But, like, they can't really be in touch. So that's why they wrote this song.
And I'll check in, and by the time you hear this, you know, you might even be in jail at the way things are going. And it's just, again, it's like that experience, right? Like, you can tell this happened. Like, these guys were actually watching their hood change while this murder investigation's happening. Like, why did this murder have to happen? Why do you have to be in hiding? Why are you gone? Why are these people like this? And maybe I know I'm not paranoid. This is actually shit that's happening. Right. I just captured stuff so perfect. And this one had
like the confusion is just so real when listening to this song. It's like, yeah, they know what's happening, right? The fear is absolutely there, but the hint of confusion of like, I know this is happening, but why is
a ball
just
of confusion.
Well,
Anybody
I feel
out there?
like it's more like, it's not so much why, but they're like, they're at the same time they're like, why did this have to happen? Isn't so much of a like they're like sad and angry in the way like when you lose someone.
Yeah.
But it's more about let us tell you about the consequences of these actions now. Because this happened, we can't talk to you. Because this happened, the hood's changing.
And Prodigy like is kind of also saying like, if you need me, he's like, you know, like I know how to like outsmart the police and like get people out of the projects, and like maybe I can help you out, like, you know, if you need me. Like I think he kind of mentions that as well. So it's sort of like this like, you know, song, like this brotherhood song, you know, like he's like I've got your back, like you know, I love you, I miss you, like we'll take care of you.
And then with that Crystal singing on the chorus,
Crystal Johnson,
a little break there, I thought it was great. I gave it another 5. I thought it was a really great experience.
Yeah, 5 on 5.
Nice. I actually gave it a 4 on 5 only because I'm going with Bonnie's the way she's doing it. I wouldn't listen to this again. It was a really great track, but the whole like brotherly love thing is something that I would listen to like once in a while, just to, I don't know if I'm feeling like that, but I wouldn't wake up in the morning and get into that mode where it's like, yo man, I got you, when it's like I have to go work.
I don't think Chris understands what Squad's about.
No, I know what Squad. Listen, I know what Squad's about.
Yeah, your words are contradicting you, bro.
No, I know what Squad's about.
It's like you're asking for a trip up north, bro.
Ooh.
Your street stories caught inside this trap. Who were you to look at me with your eyes like that?
This one's about more of the subject of jail.
Yeah.
And Prodigy, I believe it is, starts us off going on about just the experience and the fear of going to jail, and how like you'll wake up here and then on Monday you might be on a bus going up north, and just this general vibe that it gets sent. But yo, for real, the beat came on and the flows was happening, and I realized that about 3 minutes into the song I'd stopped listening to the words because it was so well put together. I had to restart it again, which it just kept happening.
It just like was like.
And then I found out that Havoc is savage as fuck when he goes to jail, and it was fucking incredible. Like, there's nothing wrong with these songs. Like, these songs are really, like, they're not too long for me. Like, they hit the right level of depth.
Well, this one was 4:58, so it's, you know, almost 5 minutes.
Most of them are in that range.
Yeah, a lot of them are quite long, like around that, you know, 4 or 5 minutes. But, you know, for the most part, like, I didn't really feel much of, like, a drag between any of them. And, like, some of the skits, you know, were quite short, but there's not that many of them. But the album didn't feel like it dragged on. Like, it was, like, for me, like, it was up there, like, with Nas. Like, you know, and I don't, like, I feel shorter. Like it's a shame that more people just don't know these people. And like I wish you know like it's true, like I'm like, why isn't Mobb Deep like a household name? Why isn't Nas a household name? And like maybe now, like because like he's like dating Nicki Minaj or whatever, like, you know, he might be. And like maybe now that like Prodigy is dying, you know dead. Okay, yes, you know rest in peace, you know, that he died, you know, on what, the 17th, you know, like just this week. You know, and, you know, like, it's a shame. Like, you know, why didn't I ever hear about this guy before?
Because it's taken so long to get you to listen to classic rap albums. I had to trick you into doing a podcast.
Yes.
I don't know. I give this another 5. Like, so far, what I can say about this album is it's truly next level caliber of skill, and there's no song that's been boring. Like, it doesn't get, like, they know how to deliver in such a way where it's not over the top. It's not like singy shit. It's just raw rapping, rhyming, making it work, fucking with the flow, and just having this don't give a fuck attitude that is just so transparent in the way they deliver that, like, you believe them.
Right.
Yeah, well, I also felt for this one that it was like a warning, like, to like the youth that were like, you know, that he's seeing like growing up there. You know, he's sort of like, stay out of jail, like, don't do these things. Like, it's sort of like, you know, like, if you do like these kinds of, you know, if you start getting into this kind of trouble, like, you will end up in jail, and this is what it's like. You know, he's kind of saying like how scary it is. And then, you know, like that, he's also saying that, you know, those of you who are living the high life and like packing guns and like whatever else, it's like, you have to be careful because you're at the very, very top. And like one little wrong move and you're, you know, you could be at the bottom or dead or in jail. And so like you have to be watching your back all the time. And it's not as easy as it, you know, as it seems, and like you shouldn't brag about it, you know, if you're not, you know, because it's scary. And he also says that, you know, shit only gets worse, and he talks about like don't being a snitch. So don't be a snitch.
You're gonna get stitches.
Yes.
Right.
So I really like the song. I gave it a 5 on 5.
Nice. I actually gave this song a 4 on 5. It's not a bad song. It's a really great song. I just kind of found it a little far out when Havoc came in and decided to just be full on savage on his whole verse. Great. I mean, listen, nothing bad against it. It's fucking amazing. But listening to Prodigy kind of giving you like a warning of the consequences.
Hold on
and stuff.
a second. So when Quavo goes, his people be ruthless savage, and then proceeds to drop nothing like this, that's
Right.
okay.
No,
Even though
no,
Quavo's
no.
being
see,
fake
see,
as
you
fuck
decided
with
to
that
cut
shit,
it off
Dan.
before I even finished.
Oh boy. Okay.
Quavo and Migos, the whole entire song is about killing people or whatever it is. That's one thing. What I'm saying here is when I listen to this track, and I listened to it a couple of times actually, I got the sense that Prodigy was like giving a warning and the consequences, as you guys said, as like a result of what you guys could do to watch out. And then I kind of just felt like Havoc came in, was like, I'm not gonna.
You can't see how Havoc then is saying that while all of y'all are bragging about how you want to go to prison, this is the consequence of what really happens in prison.
Yeah.
You hide in protective custody because when you get here, you find out you're not able to hang out with people as hard as me. Is I'm paraphrasing a bit.
Yeah.
One of the lines. I don't agree with your assessment that he just went savage. He was giving the opposite end of the coin here.
Fair enough.
Because it's the outside of jail, what it looks like going in, and the real fear of getting caught versus the actual savagery of what will happen to you once you go inside of the jail. So I just feel like without that, it wouldn't even be the complete story.
Fair enough.
That's fine. I get
Anyways, that's enough about that. Let's talk about Trife Life.
The world is my mental. We put together 5 soldiers. The bitch for my blood curdle.
I'll give it to you, Chris. There's a clear shift between what Havoc and Prodigy seem to be doing with these songs, because here we have Prodigy being like, yo, some chick wants to fuck with her squad, me, I bring my boys, but yo, they're in Brooklyn, which is a scary place to go if you're from the bridge. And then, you know, the whole track's about how they get there and they take the subway, and while they're on their way, they devise like this plan, like what's gonna happen as shit goes down, which really did make me picture the Kendrick album and the little skits there.
Yeah.
And then they get there and they see this van, so they bolt out the other way because it's not really worth dying over. And they describe
And they're
it
not
as-
in their hood.
and because they're somewhere else. And then Havoc comes in and goes, this is what the fuck happens if you come into my hood, and just the savagery of that, what goes in. We don't fuck around. Don't come here if you have no reasons. And then, no, this is where the guy
he
goes
there
upstairs
for a girl.
to, like, fuck a girl, and then he comes in looking all nice with his chain, and then he comes down, and he fucking robs him.
And Havoc wanted his chain.
Oh, he
and
kills
then,
him, right.
Well, he ends up killing him. So he was like,
he's like, I think the line is
this
like,
is your fault.
I
That's
took a
basically what he's
life,
saying.
but all I wanted was the chain.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
And he talks about living life like an animal and like all this like savagery and like the stuff that he has to do, and like this is just like the hood life, you know, and like.
And that beat is just great, man. It's got layers upon layers on it, and it just fucks with your brain. This is another track. Like, I think I like this one a lot. Like, this one's a 5. It's got a crazy story to it. It's got the crazy coin side of these two's perspectives put together. And it's interesting. Like, it's almost like the same formula as the last song, but on a completely different subject matter while feeling completely different.
Yeah.
5 on 5.
I gave this one a 4 on 5. I thought it was a really cool song, but like for me, like it wasn't like one that I would want to listen to every day. But I may go back and change my mind. So, but I'm sticking with the 4.
I also gave it a 4 on 5. I kind of just, like right now, when I was listening to it, I kind of just felt like I was like, okay, I get it not to fuck with you. I sort of kind of got that feeling. I was like, I get it not to fuck with you. We've been told not to fuck with you. I understand they're expressing where they come from and how it works and what's going down.
But it's also the hip hop elements of the competition and skills and stuff.
Right. So I wasn't gonna go ahead and just like screw it and give it a 3 or whatever. I took the time to really listen to it, and it was produced well. It was creative. It was nice. It was honest. It's about the life that they live. I like that. It's just for me, I was like, okay, this is somewhat starting to maybe not sound repetitive, but very similar to what you've previously said on this album already.
See, I would say this is one of the most, it sounds nothing like the rest of the album tracks that almost exist because it's so specific storytelling. It's like
and it's a little more uppity.
And it's kind of like I don't agree. I mean, we haven't covered an album where you haven't said that. In every album review, at some point or another along the way, you're like, this is starting to sound the same. But it's not true in the sense that, what do you expect an artist to do? And they have, do you want to have, does Migos not write the same shit
I'm not saying,
in every song?
I'm not saying, and I'm telling you, if we did the Migos album, I would sit there and be like, it sounds the same. I'm gonna credit. Yes, because you bring it back as if I'm just gonna defend
Chris
Migos.
loves Migos. He
I
defended
like what they
Migos.
do. I like it, but
months.
if I were listening to an album and the whole thing
of
sounded
greatness.
the same, I'm gonna say the same fucking thing. Okay, well, guys, you guys sound the same.
But what I'm saying is, Migos.
Sorry,
Migos almost literally says the same things in the
same
song.
I never ever say that they don't. I know they say the same things. I just
you're like them. I love it when they do it.
I just like them. I just like the group.
My point I'm trying to say is when you like the sound of it, when they say the same things, it's totally fine. But if the sound isn't ideal, if they say very different but similar things, you're going to have a different feel. I'm just pointing it out.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Because, I don't know. This isn't the same. There are other tracks where we could be like, it's kind of the same. There are 3 or 4 songs that are almost straight up, we will fuck you up if you talk shit about us kind of things. This one was about girls and setups and stuff. It's different.
Right. I'm saying similar. I wasn't saying the same. I said similar to the other ones, and it would just the premise is the same. Don't fuck with us. This is what we do. Stay in your hood, stay in our hood. But it's the same. It's the same.
But that's not how you're gonna make friends, boys.
But it's also not. But I would disagree with that being the premise. They're describing the dangers of going to fuck girls who live in different areas.
Fair enough.
Which is not the same as what you described just before. Those are different things. So yeah, they're kind of the danger of going into another hood is a similarity, perhaps. But no, the subject matter is definitely a unique concept to this album that doesn't, appear on other songs. Just how they rap is how they rap, and they have their flows. So I guess it's delivered with similar language sometimes. I don't know. I just don't fully get how you find this one similar compared to the other ones. Anyway, I guess we can go on to QU Hectic.
Yes.
For real, we about to get sling on the corners like we always do. Son, get that loot quick.
See now, Chris, this one to me felt like other tracks on this album already, and kind of was on the same "we'll fuck you up" because our ghetto was hard, and I guess the QU was Queens.
So this one sounded the same, but the one that I felt sounded the same is not the same.
Because the subject matter of the track is similar in more of a direct and literal sense. So yes, I can argue it at a literary level to describe why they're different and the same.
So what did you like about this song though?
I liked it less than the other ones. I actually thought the beat was kind of annoying, to be honest, and I thought that, all right, so basically you grew up on the streets, and the streets was your school of life, and as a result you're as hard as you are, and you'll do what you have to do. And I don't know, this one, it didn't feel as great. It's still a fantastic track in the sense of technical skill and stuff, but given the fact that they have a whole bunch of other albums after this and that there's a whole lot of rap out there, I could see myself not going back to revisit this one, just considering the volume of music out there, whereas I didn't feel that way about any song prior to this one so far. This is the first one I felt was a little not really doing it for me, mostly because of the reasons you provided in the last track.
Well, I like this one. It had a cool jazzy feel to me, and his I think parents were also sort of musicians as well, and so I think he's got that sort of jazzy influence, the same as Nas. So we kind of have that sort of feeling again with a lot of his music. So for me, this was just how they used to party and cause shit, back in the day when they were young, and then that things are going too fast and life is crazy. And it is sort of again, sort of a, this is the gangster life, and this is what it is, and this is just who we are and what life is like for us. So for me, like, it was like, again, a similar sort of feeling as like maybe some of the other songs. But I mean, I don't know if that's like the thing that we're comparing now. But I thought it did have a really solid beat for me. I really liked that like feeling that it had. I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
Nice. I give it a 4 out of 5. Very similar to the last one. Very same type of things that we've been hearing.
How is it similar to the last one?
Oh,
It's
boy.
not at all similar to the last one.
'Cause in
The last
end-
one was about girls and the dangers of trying to get
Right,
laid.
but if we take what I said, it kind of just sounds similar because if you fuck with them, they'll fuck you up. So at the end of the day, for me, the song sounds similar.
But in the last song, that wasn't the message.
Right.
That's the thing. So when you're saying that's the message, then it can't be the same thing. They're different. So that would be more compared to, like, I don't know, any of the earlier tracks on the album where the message was more, if you fuck with us, I'll fuck you up. Not Trife Life, the previous track, which had a very specific message that wasn't, if you fuck with us, we'll fuck you up. I mean, you can't say things and then, it can't just be like, make it sure it makes sense what you're saying. Otherwise, it's like the difference, I guess. Otherwise, I'm gonna call you on it like that because they're not the same subject matter. I don't know, man. Like this track.
Regardless of the subject matter could be different. But if the song sounds the same,
But how does it sound the same?
It sounds very similar. A lot of what they're saying in this song kind of just sounds a lot like the other songs we heard on the beginning of the album. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I understand the mentality.
That's what
and where
I just
you're coming
said, not
from.
what you just said. You just said it sounds like Trife Life. I said like
Which,
earlier songs.
with what I said from Trife Life, that it sounds like they're like, you fuck with them, they'll fuck you up. Which I said sounds like the other
But
song.
what I'm saying,
it goes with it.
But Trife Life isn't that. So my
Right.
point is, you can't just say random shit like that. Like that's all.
Okay.
Anyway, like what about this song sounded?
This song sounded like if you fuck with any of these guys, they're hard, they're gonna fuck you up. They come from the streets. It sounded like when I was listening to it, I was like, okay, this is another song where if I fuck with you, or if I come in your hood, you'll rob, stab, fuck me up, and then that's it. I didn't get anything else out of this. There's not much to
There
this
is
song
a lot
for me.
more to it, though. I would say that there's a lot to this song because it has a lot more to take the part where the streets raise them, right? There's a lot of fucking. So yes, you're right in the sense that if you fuck with them, they'll fuck you up. But the nuances of the lines, the specific bar to bars, are completely different constructions of different emotions they're capturing. To like simplify it down to it's about the same thing is almost like you didn't take the time to look for the differences. I mean, you can shake your head all you want.
Well, I did what I did. I did it, and that's what it came up to. I read the lyrics, I listened to the song, I played it back, and I'm just like, okay, it's another song where if you fuck with them, they'll fuck you up. And I was like, all right, it's not a bad song. It's produced well, has great flows, great voices on it. It's just not a 5 on 5 to me. It was a 4 on 5.
See, all
Okay,
that
it's
part's
okay.
completely fair. Nobody's questioning that part. Anyway, the next one is Right Back at You.
Up the handle and insert the potion. Cock the shit back in a calm like motion.
So I thought this song had a pretty proper beat. It was pretty solid. I like the featured verses. I like the fact that we had more Ghostface and Raekwon doing that back and forth shit like they did on that Raekwon album that we covered.
And Big Noyd.
And he was back doing his shit completely proper the way he was supposed to be doing. And I don't know. I kind of really felt like it flowed with the album. It was just more great flows, great rhyming, great technique. It was a solid standalone jam. I don't know if I didn't really get too much into the nuances of the lyrics. I got caught up in how dope everybody sounded, and I don't have a lot more to comment on this one. So I give it a 4.5 on 5 because I could see how this has got some education points in it, and I like the way that all 5 of these rappers hit this track in a fluid, cohesive way.
Yeah, I give this one a 4 on 5. I thought it was like a good like crew song. Like, you know, like everyone was like, they were talking about like how you're nothing if your crew doesn't have your back. And that, you know, like they'll, you know, Prodigy's there and he's like, I'll kill you and I won't think twice. You know, he's like, if this is for like my people. And then Havoc is kind of like, yo, you must be like on something or whatever if, you know, if you're even thinking about like threatening him, because you're not just threatening him, like you're threatening like my whole crew. So you must be crazy. Like you better watch yourself. And so it was just sort of like another like we've got each other's backs kind of song.
Fair enough.
Right. No, that's exactly it. They have each other's backs. I also got a feeling like if you don't think that you can get away with just messing around, whether it be with them or with anybody they know, if you try to diss them, if you try to go at them on a song, they will come at you. They will send shots back at you. That's mostly what I got from this. But yeah, no, they're just not taking anyone's shit. It was really produced well. Like Holden said, I really liked the back and forth between Ray and Ghostface. That was really awesome. The features are actually really, really cool. But I gave it a 4 on 5. It's, I don't know. Again, I wouldn't really listen to this all the time. To be honest, I wouldn't really listen to a lot of this album a lot on a daily, on my own personal choice. But it is a great song, though.
Okay.
All right, so moving on, we have
The Grave Prelude. So this is like a very like compact skit in like 50 seconds. There's like rain and there's a storm and you hear shots getting fired, and then like you know that like one of their crew members like he got shot, and then so they're all just trying to keep him awake and like trying to like make sure he like lives, and like then they call 911. You hear an ambulance coming, and then it goes like straight into the next song. So
yeah. And I feel like what's really interesting about this one is you can almost feel like this is a moment that they've had and they're trying to show. Do you guys know what the reality of somebody dying is like? Do you know what it's like to actually have one of your boys who gets taken out and to try to keep him awake? And honestly, it reminded me of my first aid training. And like just like a whole other use for first aid training one would not normally consider or think of, in that I like this. I give it a 4. I thought it was a pretty solid and interesting preface for the next track.
No, straight up, I gave it a 4 or 5 as well. It was really cool. It really captivated the actual feeling, for me at least, to go in and be like, holy crap, like this is really what goes on. This is really what it feels like. I mean, I won't know it on hand, right? But just hearing this song as an experience in itself is just really intense.
Yeah, same sort of thing. Like it conveyed a lot of emotions, and like it definitely made me feel like I was there. I was in the moment. You understand that the whole crew is coming together for this incident, that whatever had happened. And they get that like someone's in trouble, and that someone was shot, and like and another thing, like they know that obviously that they're gonna have to go back and like see who shot them. So yeah, I mean it's a very sad, very like honest skit.
Fair enough. And then it leads us right into Cradle to the Grave.
Yeah.
Stress a little something, had my heart rapidly pumping. Niggas started cutting behind the bushes.
Like with this one, we have this back and forth pattern of the way the verses are put together we haven't seen yet on this album, which is cool. I always love it when they go back and forth like that, shorter little patches, and they start telling one fucking hell of a story here. It reminded me almost of that NWA story where they shoot up the cop house or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, I got sucked right in. I just pictured it. And you can feel the anxiety of the fear of dying, the fear of dealing with these police situations and having to run. Then the realization and the fear of having to kill. Like, I think closer to the end of the song, he's like, I got to take this person out.
Prodigy is like kind of like, he gets kind of excited and like eager. Like he wants to like go like seek his revenge. Like he wants to
like told, no, hold on, the timing isn't right yet, etc. And like the question in his mind isn't if anymore, it's just the when. When he sees
and that he's a dead man walking,
and he has to like fake it around him and be like, yeah, we're cool, but in the back of his mind knowing I'm about to take you out.
Yeah.
And it's like getting into the psychology in the head of these people. It's crazy to me. Like it's a mind fuck. Like this type of shit, like I love it. I love this kind of song. I love the way that it creates this experience that can just take you the way through it, man. I give this a 5. I thought it was like a crazy beat, a crazy experience. Just nothing about this was boring. Like you can't get bored listening to this shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a story. He's kind of just saying like, whether this is the hood life or this is like, like just by being here, or whether you're in a gang, like this is like what you're gonna have to deal with, and like you're in it from the day you're born until the day you die. And like that's what they're saying, like that there's no way out. It's jail or death. Like that's pretty much your two options here. And so it's this pretty solid song about like his life or their lives and like their circumstances. And I gave it a 4 on 5.
Okay.
Nice. I found it to be really raw, really explaining that like this is how it is. I kind of got this like we're kind of born to die feeling that it's inevitable we're gonna die, and we all know this. And just everything you go through in life, it's like a struggle but a lesson, a struggle but a lesson, and then having to stay low and not take your revenge and not do something that's gonna make you feel good, or whether it's a good act or a bad act, having to be smart about it is like, it's also another way of maturity, and it was really cool to actually get that from that. I was just like, okay, this is a really solid song.
Cool. Nice.
All right, so the next one is
Drink Away the Pain
in
Situations.
Couldn't figure how me and Hill figure used to move through with vigor. Had to sit and plan on how to make these.
This song is actually really, really cool. I like how they're expressing how they use alcohol to get rid of their pain and how they are always in situations. I got this sense of they're trying to relate it to like alcoholism as a woman, but
yeah. But like for me, like I found it a little bit confusing, like along the way sometimes as well. But
it's kind of like he's describing his like while he's Prodigy in the first verse is describing his alcoholism as though it's different women he's been dating along the way. Like each drink's almost like a little line or a segment, and he's just describing like his like how other people might have obsession with women and be chasing all this pussy, but for him it's alcohol, right? Yeah. And it's just the emotional, like the addiction, the drive to have it, even though people are telling you like it's bad for you and you really shouldn't be doing this and it's harmful, but he can't help it, he's going to be doing it anyways. And then, you know, Q-Tip comes in with this strange fucking verse that follows the same formula, but at first sounds completely out of place, right? And it's kind of describing fashion brands and the various obsession.
Yeah, I mean, if they're spending
that.
all their money on like fashion.
But I think it's almost an addiction, right? Like, his people get
like
hooked on these brands and they want to buy all this shit, and then all this crime and violence happens over it. And things.
And Prodigy talks about that as well. He says, you know, it's like you can come in here and like, you know, be all flossing and like have like nice cars and like have all this nice stuff, but if you still live in Queensboro, then like you can't be doing that good.
And like and then Havoc at the end is kind of again more about the alcohol side of things, about how he spends all his money on it, and almost like it's like they're aware of how all of these habits are self-indulgent and destructive, and they know how bad they are, but they do them anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a way for them to escape. I mean, with everything that goes on around them in the atmosphere and the surroundings, like I understand how they feel like they need a way to just get away.
Which I respect. It's totally criticizing the coping mechanisms and how they're used and etc. But it's like it's like an honest conversation. Like, look, we all do this. Like, we should not lie about it. Like, I do have a problem. I'm not even fucking around. I'm not even faking it. This is just
crazy,
the reality.
You know, that they're so young and he's already like, you know, addicted.
Like his mother, I think Havoc's mom even says go to AA. And goes as far as to say like that. And like, I really appreciated this one. And it's clever, right? It's not like just, you know, this a lot of what we've seen on the rest of this album. It's like a completely fresh perspective on everything. Where yeah, sure, they might use kind of stuff. Plus, Q-Tip's always fun. He delivers his stuff eloquently.
I didn't like. For me, like this was like the least good song.
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I got to this and I was like, this wasn't my favorite. We got Q-Tip who sounds like this, and like he sounds really nasally and like he's trying to be Eazy-E, but he's not. And like
I don't even know what you're saying.
Like he was a little bit more like high pitchy, and I don't know. He wasn't my. I'm sorry, it just wasn't my favorite.
Q-Tip.
You know, I needed a Q-Tip after that.
Oh boy.
But don't hate me if you love Q-Tip. But yeah, for me, it just didn't do it. I didn't really enjoy the beat. I kind of got confused a little bit by, you know, like whether or not he was actually referring to women in some of the lines and where he was referring to alcohol. Like some of them I genuinely thought he was talking about girls. So like I was a little bit confused. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That was just Prodigy's verse, right?
Yeah, just like that first part.
Fair enough. I gave this a 5. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was clever. I thought it is a necessary song, and more people should write shit about these subject matters.
Fair enough. I actually gave it a 4 out of 5. Just because I wouldn't really be listening to this often enough to really like it that much. But it is a great song. The beat was produced really well. The creativity in it was really well, and it's a really great song. And people should listen to it. Just my personal one.
Okay.
Not every day, at least.
All right. The next one is the lead single for this album, a true fucking classic hip hop banger of bangers, Shook Ones Part 2.
When the slugs penetrate, feel a burning sensation, getting closer to God in a tight situation.
I can tell you one thing. When you try to rap along this song, it is 10 times harder than it sounds. It is the intricacies of where he cuts the lines and when he starts the next line. It's so fucking incredible. I love this song. I have listened to this song at least 50, 60 times this year alone.
So maybe that's right, because I felt like I had heard the song, but I couldn't place it. So maybe I just kind of like heard it like somewhere in the background when you were playing it.
Honestly.
Well, I mean, this beat's been. When I heard this beat, I was like, I know this.
Yeah,
so
that's how I felt.
The beat has been used in other things, as well as we were talking earlier, movies and like intros to things. So it's a very well-known background instrumental.
For me, it's like, you know what lyric it was for the entire album? The thing that struck with me the most, and it was long even before I heard this, it was just kind of like, in general, one of those lines that sticks with you, and it was, when the slug penetrates, you feel a burning sensation. Like, how often do you hear a rapper describe getting shot, right? Just like, yo, the bullet comes in, it starts burning like if a bee stings you. And he says it like as if a bee might sting you, and just the coldness, and like, I guess
like
I know
he's just so used to like that feeling.
I think that's what
and
makes
it's
it
just
more.
I love the idea of ain't no such thing as halfway crooks, and that, like, I mean, the whole song is, I guess, calling out the fake fuckers out there and how they're the realist and a lot of that, but
Right.
again, it's just so powerful. It draws you in, and I think it's the closest thing to a banger in more of the modern sense of bangers that's on this album, just because that hook is so fucking great.
Yeah.
I give it a 5. Like, I love this song. I think line for line, you get sucked into pain and expressiveness, and it's really good. It's the song I guess I'm most familiar with, so I don't know. I love it I love it a lot.
Nice.
So I don't know. This one was like, again, like a kind of like a sad kind of situation, like from like Prodigy's point of view. Like, he was like saying, you know, that this was his life, and, you know, talking about the hood and everything else, and that he's only 19. And then one lyric that I liked that he said was getting closer to God in a tight situation. So again, like, he knows like that he's like getting
right before the
closer.
bullet one.
Yeah, like, you know, that he's talking about like that, you know, he could get killed at any moment, and like, you know, these kind of things happen so quickly, and you never know what's gonna happen like on the other end of like the situation. And then we've got like Havoc, who like raps about like that his lyrics are so killer that he should be like in jail, and that his lyrics are like bullets to the brain, and like I think like that's like an incredible comparison. Like, that's pretty cool, you know, that it like gets inside and like stays with you, you know, like that kind of thing. And then like a whole bunch of them like shouting out like all their peeps and like their crew members from like Queensbridge. And I don't know, I thought it was a really good song. It wasn't my favorite one, but like I gave this one a 4 on 5. But it feels like a hit, and it also kind of feels like we're coming to the end of the album.
I love the beat. It's so good. It's so...
No, the beat is amazing.
It is a memorable beat, though. I'll say that much.
Right. No, I gave the song a 5 on 5. It is a fucking banger. The beat is just mesmerizing. The like Holden said, the way that they just rhyme they do their lyrics is just insane. I got this upbeat but serious feeling from it, so that was really cool as well. They tend to have that type of persona or like emotional feeling throughout the album. But yeah, no, this was a really, really cool song, and I'm pretty sure anybody who's heard this knows exactly how good it is.
There's not a lot of stuff like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Where, like, you just feel like how far away from being a killer you really are when you hear this song.
Makes
Right.
you feel dangerous.
No, it makes me feel like I'm so not dangerous. Like, if I went to Queensbridge, I could not fuck with these guys because...
No. I don't think
like,
that we would do that.
Because, like, when you hear these guys say it, and then when you look at other hip-hop after, when you look at the different gangster rappers and stuff, like, there's a difference between something like this and some other guys you might just say the words but have never lived the life. And I like that. I like how raw and authentic sounding it really comes off.
But it sucks that they have to live that life in order to make something like this.
Yeah.
So.
And the history of where they come from validates a lot of what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I guess there's one left, and it's
the party's over.
You said plus roll, get in the flow with things. Representing from Queens. Shit is real while you
understand correctly. When they say the party ends, it's over, and you best get ready for shit to go down, or they will come and end the party, or
they will kill you,
and they will fuck shit up. And I feel like
it's kind of like asserting the law.
Like, it's a warning.
It's like a celebration to 3 a.m. when everyone's faded and the shit's about to get real, and I don't fuck with them because they will fuck you up.
Yeah, and again, like, don't come to Queens because they'll fuck you up. And, you know, they'll even take your clothes, especially Guess. And, like, Nas also, like, really liked Guess as well. So I don't know if that was, like, a thing back then that they really...
Guess was, like, a hot brand, like, in the 90s.
Like, it's still, like, popular, but
no,
I mean, it's not, like, I don't think it was.
It used to be,
it's no Tommy Hilfiger, you know what I mean?
No, but, like, for real, Guess once upon a time was the shit in a way that, like, other brand... I don't know, like... any proper brand would be now. It's just that it's not cool anymore to wear Guess. I don't know, at least to my knowledge.
No offense.
But yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid jam. It was another, like, another,
like, We've Got Your Back, you know, and, like, you know, Big, what is it, Big Noyd, he's there, and he's talking proper. About, like, you know, how he gets, like, the beeper messages, saying, like, 911, and you're like, you know you're legit if you had a beeper in the 90s. Right. So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a lot more to add on this track. It's more or less a closing of this album, I guess, saying that the party's over. Like, maybe the placement...
Maybe because the song, you know, and the album's over.
It's kind of like, look, the album's over, but it's not just that. It's like, when you look at the entire album, you look at it as you said earlier, like a movie. Right. So using in the party's over, it's like the entertainment's over, the fun's done. So we're wrapping up the movie, we're wrapping up, you know, the message and everything we wanted to share on this album. And like every good party, it's not really over. There's always the next one.
Well, I feel like, yeah, I guess. I don't know about that last part. I feel like this song is kind of like really in a literal front, and it's like, well, when shit gets fucked up, the party ends, and we end the party. We are the guys who start the shit that end the party almost, right?
Yeah. Right. And so it's like one final warning about how badass they are and not to fuck with them or their crew and not to come to Queensbridge because they'll mess you up.
I don't know. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. Like, I don't think it was the next level distinction of greatness on this album. No. I think it was another solid jam worth listening to.
I gave it a 3.5 on 5. I thought it was a good song. I thought it wasn't the best. Like, this one was, like, one more above, like, that 3 that I gave a couple songs ago. It was just, like, again, like I said, one final warning. You know, don't mess with them. But, yeah.
Right. Well, I actually gave it a 3 on 5. Again, not because of anything bad. Just, it was the same, like, final warning, which I understood. And I just felt it was a little dragged out. That's it.
See, that time I can agree with you because it's totally a valid statement to make, as it was literally just another song along these lines.
And it was like almost 5 minutes 41 seconds.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a long song.
And I don't know. I guess some parts of the I never really understood the longer. This one, if I'm not mistaken, it's a lot of the same repetition in the outro too. So it's like half the song is kind of just how they end the party and chant mode and stuff. It was good, don't get me wrong. It just wasn't...
Like, wasn't the best.
It wasn't as good as Shook One's Part 2, you know? Like, well, I guess that's the end of this one. I gave the album a 4.66. I thought this was fucking amazing. This is not what I was expecting, and I can tell you that I am really excited to cover more of their shit.
Yeah, I gave this one a 4.34, which is, as I always give the percentage, an 86%. Definitely a classic. I think that, you should check this one out.
Nice. Actually, mine came down to a 3.9. That's
just on the cusp.
That's just based on me. Unfortunately, I don't listen to this type of rap. I'm not saying they're not good. I actually really am going to try to listen to them again and see what I can find from it, go deeper, and take the time to actually see what I can do, right? But other than that, on a first glance, they're really great. Everybody should listen to it. I guess sometimes it just doesn't hit where you want it to hit, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, well, if you liked the video, feel free to like it. Hit the subscribe button, comment below. We are getting all your requests. It's not going to be possible to give everybody what they want right away. We're getting to them,
slowly but surely.
So keep in mind that over the next couple of years, we'll get to everybody's requests as we go along on this journey.
But thanks for watching, guys. We're loving it.
She loves the comments. Feel free to tell her how hot she is anytime you want. And anyhow, have a great week, everyone.
Peace out, guys.